Donald Trump warned he would take out the regime's power plants if it doesn't reopen the Strait of Hormuz within 48 hours.
What would happen if, in just 30 minutes, an entire region lost electricity, water, and access to fuel? Not in theory, but in real life. That is the chilling warning now echoing across the Middle East after a dramatic escalation between Donald Trump and Iran. This is not just another political statement. This is a countdown scenario where millions of lives, entire economies, and global stability hang in the balance. It began with a bold ultimatum, a 48-hour deadline, a direct threat to destroy Iran's power plants, the systems that keep lights on for nearly 90 million people. But what came next shocked the world even more. Iran did not step back. Instead, it responded with a warning so severe that it has changed how experts view modern warfare. According to Iranian officials, if even a single power plant is hit, the entire region could be plunged into darkness within minutes. Think about that for a moment. Cities like Riyadh, Dubai, Doha, and Kuwait City suddenly without electricity, water, or functioning infrastructure. This is no longer just about missiles or military bases. This is about survival systems. The crisis reached a turning point when Donald Trump issued a dramatic ultimatum through Truth Social, giving Iran 48 hours to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. This was not negotiation, but a demand backed by a clear threat to destroy Iranian power plants. Iran's response made the situation even more intense. Instead of stepping back, it signaled that any attack would bring consequences across the entire region. So now the situation stands at a dangerous crossroads. What happens if neither side backs down? Before we dive deeper into this unfolding crisis, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the African Web, and turn on notifications. The stakes of this confrontation go far beyond the borders of Iran or the United States. At the center of it all lies the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow passage through which a significant portion of the world's oil supply flows every single day. Even a partial disruption has already caused shipping delays, rising insurance costs, and growing uncertainty in global markets. A complete shutdown would be something entirely different. Imagine oil tankers unable to pass through one of the world's most critical energy routes. Countries that depend heavily on imported oil would immediately feel the pressure. Prices at the pump would rise. Industries would face higher production costs. Economies already dealing with inflation could experience another wave of instability. But oil is only part of the story. Gulf countries like Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Kuwait, and Qatar rely heavily on desalination plants for their water supply. These facilities turn seawater into drinking water, supporting millions of people. If these plants are targeted or shut down, the impact would be immediate and severe. Water shortages could develop within days, affecting not just daily life but also agriculture and industrial activity. Electricity is another critical factor. Power plants across the region are interconnected in ways that make them vulnerable to disruption. A coordinated attack or shutdown could lead to widespread blackouts. Cities that depend on constant electricity for cooling, healthcare, and communication would face serious challenges. This situation transforms the conflict into something much larger than a military standoff. It becomes a global economic risk and a humanitarian concern at the same time. And the question now is not just who will act first, but how far the consequences will spread when they do. As tensions rise, the conflict is no longer limited to two sides. It is drawing in regional powers and global leaders, increasing the risk of a much wider confrontation. One of the most prominent voices in this escalation is Benjamin Netanyahu, who has openly called for stronger international action against Iran. His statement suggests that the threat is not just regional but could extend far beyond the Middle East. This framing is important because it shifts the narrative. Instead of a localized conflict, it becomes a global security issue. If other countries accept this view, they may feel compelled to join the effort, either directly or indirectly. This could turn the situation into a multi-country military campaign, with multiple fronts and increasing complexity. At the same time, diplomatic tensions are reaching new highs. Some Gulf countries have taken strong actions, including expelling Iranian diplomats and increasing their defensive readiness. While these steps stop short of direct military involvement, they signal that patience is wearing thin. If attacks continue or escalate, these nations may be forced to respond more aggressively. Turkey has also issued warnings, suggesting that the region could be approaching a breaking point. When multiple countries begin to signal concern at this level, it indicates that the situation is no longer stable. Instead, it is moving toward a phase where a single event could trigger a chain reaction. The danger here lies in miscalculation. With so many actors involved, each with their own interests and red lines, the risk of misunderstanding or overreaction increases. A strike intended as a warning could be seen as an act of war. A defensive move could be interpreted as aggression. And in such an environment, escalation can happen faster than anyone expects. While political leaders and military strategists focus on power and deterrence, the real impact of this conflict is already being felt by ordinary people. Inside Iran, reports indicate widespread damage to civilian infrastructure, including homes, schools, and medical facilities. Thousands of people have been affected, and many have lost access to basic services. In neighboring regions, the consequences are also severe. In places like Lebanon, ongoing conflict has displaced large numbers of people, forcing families to leave their homes and seek safety elsewhere. Displacement on this scale creates long-term challenges, including access to food, healthcare, and education. Economic effects are spreading just as quickly. Oil markets are already reacting to the uncertainty, with prices showing signs of volatility. For countries that rely heavily on imported energy, this can lead to higher costs across the board. Transportation becomes more expensive. Goods become harder to afford. Inflation pressures increase. Businesses are also facing uncertainty. Companies operating in or connected to the region must consider the risk of disruption. Supply chains may be interrupted. Investments may be delayed or canceled. Insurance costs are rising, making operations more expensive and less predictable. But perhaps the most concerning impact is the potential for a complete breakdown of essential services. If power plants and desalination facilities are targeted, millions of people could face blackouts and water shortages at the same time. Hospitals would struggle to operate. Communication systems could fail. Daily life would become extremely difficult. This is what makes a situation so dangerous. It is not just about military outcomes, it is about the well-being of millions of people and the stability of economies around the world. As the 48-hour deadline approaches, the biggest question remains unanswered. Is this ultimatum a real plan that will be carried out? Or is it a strategic move designed to force a negotiation? The answer to that question will determine what happens next, not just in the region, but across the world. There are signs pointing in both directions. On one hand, the language used by Donald Trump is direct and forceful, suggesting a willingness to act. On the other hand, the sudden shift from talk of winding down operations to issuing a major threat raises doubts about consistency. This creates uncertainty, and in international conflicts, uncertainty can be just as dangerous as action. Iran, for its part, cannot afford to assume that the threat is a bluff. Its response shows that it is preparing for the worst-case scenario. By outlining its potential retaliation in detail, it is sending a message that any attack will come at a very high cost. This creates a situation where both sides are locked into positions that are difficult to change without losing credibility. Meanwhile, there's no clear diplomatic solution in sight. No major negotiations have been announced. No framework for de-escalation has been established. This absence of dialogue increases the risk that decisions will be made under pressure rather than through careful planning. If the deadline passes without resolution, the consequences could be immediate and severe. Blackouts, water shortages, and economic shocks could become reality. And once these events begin, reversing them will not be easy. So here's the final question. Are we witnessing the beginning of a major turning point in global stability? Or is there still time to step back from the edge? For more powerful, eye-opening analysis like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the African Web.